So before we dive in and get Adam's thoughts on all things Bulls offseason, we're doing a little broadcasting work for Bears preseason. And yes, this is a Bull show, but we are all drinking the Bears fan Kool-Aid here at CHGO because, of course, we are. What's it been like getting that first glimpse of Caleb Williams and his handful of offensive snaps so far? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
I'm taking sips of the Kool-Aid. I think it's fair. Here's my projection for him. I feel like over the last 10 to 15 years of Bears quarterback play, we've gotten used to like one step forward, one step back, one step forward, two steps back. And just it's kind of a trudge to kind of get to a place where you're a competitive offensive team, right? Defenses have been really good in the years that the Bears have gone to the playoffs. The offenses have sometimes developed. I thought Mitch developed in 2018 a little bit. In 2019, like you saw some trajectory going upward. But again, there were a lot of steps back. I feel like here it's more about like this guy's going to take two steps forward, take a step back, make some mistakes, maybe have a rough half or so. He seems like a really cumulative learner, and I think he processes information at a really high rate. And I think physically, like the stuff that he does is off the charts. Now, there are a lot of guys that are coming up into the college football ranks and eventually into the NFL that are going to be like this. They're going to be improv guys, scramblers that can do really impressive athletic things in off-platform situations. But he does it at a really high level, and he's got a really good offense around him. So if the offensive line holds up and they're healthy, I feel like they're going to be in a really good position to flirt for a wild card.
So it feels like the offense is the hope for the team, but the defense is
strong.
The logic.
Very strong. I thought the Darrell Taylor trade is really, really good. He was really productive in Seattle. It adds a little bit of edge rush depth. They don't have anybody that's equal to Montez Sweat, but I think in the aggregate, they've got, like a trio of guys that could probably take some of the pressure off him or be productive while people are paying attention to Montez Sweat. So I feel solidly about where they're at right now. And I think, listen, Detroit did not get any worse.
Yeah.
They're still the best team in the division. I have questions about Green Bay's defense outside of their secondary. And Jordan Love is still a crapshoot. I thought he had a great year last year, but I still don't know for sure what I'm getting out of him. Same thing with Caleb.
People talk about him like he's like, oh yeah, he's a top 10 QB already.
I mean, you're paying him like one because you have to pay it now. The same way that the Giants contracted Daniel Jones looked ridiculous 2 years ago. And now you're like, oh, it's kind of a bargain, to be honest with you, based on where the skyrocketing salaries are going. I feel like I still have questions about Green Bay. I think their receivers are great. I don't think they're better than the Bears receivers right now. I put the Bears receivers up there with most great trios in the league already. And then Minnesota, again, a lot of questions. I like Sam Darnold. I want him to do well, but I have questions about where he's at, questions about the running game, questions about the guys outside of Jefferson, questions about their offensive line, and they're going to blitz a lot, and I think they're going to get burned for it.
What about just like the vibes around the team? I mean, you've been covering them and calling these games for years now. We've gotten a little bit of insight through Hard Knocks, but last year people were super excited about Justin Fields. People thought that was going to be a team that took the step forward. Now, obviously, it feels from the outside that there's even more excitement, but how would you characterize just like the confidence that they have, the vibes around the team, and how that compares to years past?
I think they're about as high as I've seen in the preseason, certainly. Listen, like Justin was a really magnetic guy too. Like guys rallied around him. He's a great dude to be around, really good teammate. But I do feel like when this guy comes in with a Heisman under his belt, all the hype, and out of the gate seemingly was answering a lot of questions about his play, about what he could do offensively, what he could do to kind of run an offense, the command that he's shown, and then obviously the physical gifts to be able to back it up, and the charisma and all that goes along with it. I think guys gravitated to him very quickly. And remember, Justin wasn't the starter coming in, so he didn't have, maybe that's we have to give a little bit of deference to Justin because he didn't get that opportunity to be the number one guy. That's why they brought in an Andy Dalton. There's no veteran quarterback on this team, right?
It's true.
Brett Rippon's the most veteran guy on this team. And I think Tyson Bagent has like one more start or like one less start than Brett does. And Austin Reed's a rookie. So the four quarterbacks, they're all young guys. And Caleb was anointed when he got drafted. Like, you're the number one guy. You're coming in. And I think having that allowed everybody to kind of rally around him. Knowing that the talent is better, knowing that the investment and the resources have been there. Now here's the guy, let's support him. And I think Eberflus has done a good job of pushing that, like, let's support this guy. If everybody else plays well and the offensive line stays healthy and plays well, then they'll be really solid by the time the second half of the season comes around. They don't play a divisional game till week 11.
Right.
It's crazy.
And their first half schedule
Crazy.
is relatively soft compared to the back end. The back end is brutal with all the division games and San Francisco and Seattle. But like you're playing 3 AFC South quarterbacks that are within their first 2 years in the first 3 weeks of the season. Like you should, I think that's why they blitz so much in the preseason. Like they blitzed a ton in the preseason. I don't even think they're going to do it that often early. I think it's going to be just something to put on tape so that these young quarterbacks still have to look around and be wary and like be aware of stuff. I think they've played the preseason out about as perfectly as you possibly can to try to set you up, set Caleb up, set the defense up for success.
That was did you have a wow moment watching Caleb? Because listening to you call it, I could hear your professionalism, of course, but I was wondering in my head, I wonder if he's freaking out at some of this stuff.
Was the Dunze pass, the 45-yarder to a Dunze, like everybody else. I mean, how did any of us kind of just not, rear back a little bit when we saw that and be taken aback by it? I think it's impressive, to do something physical that I said this when Fields had like become the starter like in 2022. Yeah. I was like, the Bears are kind of ahead of the field, or ahead of the curve, I should say, of where offenses are in the NFL. Like these are the types of quarterbacks that are going to become more frequent as starters. They're going to be more of them, more numerous from collegiate level to the NFL. And the Bears are kind of already in position to start running a more modern style NFL offense. It never really came to fruition. I think part of that was Fields' up and down nature. Part of that was Getsy calling the plays. I think now they have all the pieces in place. I like what Shane Waldron's doing, trying to keep some balance, but they have all the tools in terms of what they have at receiver. Cole Kmet's coming off a great year. I love the DeAndre Swift signing. Herbert is a very capable number 2 back. They've got depth at all these positions, and I think even with the injuries on the offensive line, they've shown some depth in the preseason. Is it as quality as Nate Davis? No, a healthy Nate Davis is good, but he's rarely healthy seemingly right now. Yes. So you need to be, that needs to be very solidified, and then this modern version of the offense is ready to kind of, again, they'll have a ramp-up time because the first half of the season schedule is a little softer. They'll have a little bit of ramp-up time with the defense hopefully playing to its capabilities. And then I think this is going to be a very fun-to-watch modern NFL offense with what Caleb can do outside the pocket in particular.
It would be fun if Bears fans figure out what that is for the first time in our collective lives.
Again, all that the last 10 years, we've all had just kind of weird questions about what is the identity. When's the last time you were like, oh, that's a Bears offense? When's the last time that happened?
Maybe when
I mean, like
2013
with B-Marsh, Alshon,
it was
Forte,
Marty
B, and Cuddy.
Yeah.
Throwing a bunch of TDs, but also throwing a bunch of picks.
Yeah.
That was the last time anybody really was like, yeah, that was an offense. That's the offense. It's live by this, by the pass, die by the pass. I think they have balance, or the capability and potential for balance, and I think they have a huge capability for splash plays.
Yeah, and it just feels like the IQ of the team is just really off the charts. And just watching what Caleb does and watching him think back there, he removes just a lot of doubt for me.
Cumulative learner.
Yes, man. Just I don't have to worry about, is he reading all the receivers or
and he's still he's still learning, and there's
true.
And he missed some reads, like he during the preseason, like I think he played some 40 some odd snaps, something like that.
No, he's got to make mistakes.
He missed reads, but I do think it was 2 steps forward.
Right.
All right, he missed a read and missed a couple reads on that.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a really nice splash play. Oh, that was a really good check into this run play. Like, I think he takes good leaps and then maybe stumbles a little bit rather than kind of stumbling forward and then being chased back and, sacked in the proverbial sense.
Just knowing my quarterback knows the time of the play clock.
I think that's
getting
important,
that off. I mean, this is all stuff that
brings
I
you
haven't
comfort.
seen.
It brings you comfort. You feel good about it, right?
Talk to him,
and he's in a position to succeed. Like, we've never had this before either, where it was like their infrastructure is there.
Yeah.
He's going to have.
Mitch didn't have these weapons.
Yeah.
Justin didn't have these weapons.
I always try to give them some deference because it's like they didn't really invest in the teams around them. They have clearly, just in the last 12 months invested in this team heavily.
We all silly like the mayor.